I'm a cryptid hunter for the government, and I think I met the devil. Log entry. Agent Kellen Reed, DSA Field Division, Operation. Blackwood. Location. Grid Sector 7 Alpha, Northern Saskatchewan Wilderness State. October 28, 2023 time. 3:17 a.m. God. Where do I even start? They debrief you for everything. Wendigo psychosis? Check. Skinwalker mimicry protocols? Memorized. Even the goddamn dimensional bleed procedures for things that shouldn't be. But this wasn't in the manual. This wasn't anything we've cataloged. I was tracking thermal signatures, faint, erratic, colder than ambient. Textbook spectral entity, maybe a Class 3 haunter. Standard op, deep woods, Sector 7 Alpha. Place feels wrong. Older than the trees. You know the feeling, right? The silence that isn't silence, just the absence of life. No crickets, no owls. Just the creak of ancient pines and the drip of something off the wet branches. I found the source near Devil's Kettle Lake, not on any map we have. Just a local name whispered by terrified loggers who vanished back in the 50s. The thermal sig, it wasn't just cold. It was negative, absorbing heat, like a black hole in my NVG scope. And the smell, rotten eggs, sure. Sulfur, classic, but underneath. Like spoiled meat left in a flooded basement. Sweet decay. Metallic like old blood. And something else. Cloying, like funeral lily dipped in vinegar. It coated the back of my throat. Made my eyes water. I followed it. Protocol demanded confirmation. My M4 felt like a child's toy. The trees. They started leaning in. Branches like gnarled fingers brushing my shoulders. I kept hearing whispers. Not words, just sibilant hisses. Like steam escaping a corpse. Was it the wind? My own pulse thundering in my ears? I don't know anymore. I breached a clearing. Moonlight, weak and gray, filtered through the canopy. And there, standing by the black water, was him. He looked almost human, tall, thin, wearing what seemed like an old-fashioned charcoal gray suit, impeccably tailored. But wrong. The fabric didn't move right. It clung like wet tar. His skin was pale, not Caucasian pale, cadaver pale, waxy, translucent almost, showing dark veins beneath like cracks in porcelain. He had his back to me. Then he turned. No eyes, just smooth, empty sockets filled with, not darkness, nothing, a void that pulled at my sanity. And his smile, Jesus Christ, his smile. It split his face too wide. Too many teeth, sharp, yellowed, like shards of old bone. They didn't fit. They overlapped, crammed together in a rictus that promised agony. Agent Reed, he said. His voice, it wasn't one voice. It was layered. A guttural rasp underneath a child's sing-song, overlaid with the dry scrape of insects. It vibrated in my skull, bypassing my ears. So diligent, so curious. My training evaporated. My finger was on the trigger, but my arm was lead. The smell intensified, a physical wave that made my stomach heave. I tasted bile. Identify yourself, I choked out. Stupid, pointless, he chuckled. The sound was like pebbles grinding in a meat grinder. Identity? A cage for finite minds. You hunt shadows, Agent. Fleeting nightmares. He took a step forward, not a walk. A glide. His feet didn't seem to touch the moss. I am the architect of the dark between the stars. The hunger that gnaws at the roots of creation. He gestured with a hand. Long fingers. Too long. The nails were black, curved claws. You sought the cryptid. You found the source, the wellspring of fear itself. Then it happened. The gore. The unmaking. His jaw. It unhinged. Not like a snake. like a puppet with severed strings. Wider, wider than his head should allow, wider than anything should allow. And from that impossible maw, things squirmed, not tongues, not tentacles, things made of wet leather and rusted hooks, glossy, segmented things dripping thick, black ichor that smoked where it hit the moss. They lashed out, not at me, not yet. From the shadows at the edge of the clearing, a shape stumbled forward. A deer, a magnificent stag. It moved jerkily, eyes rolled back white, foam flecking its muzzle. Drawn like a moth to a flame, one of those appendages. Snapped forward, faster than sight. It punched through the stag's chest with a sickening crunch thud, splintering ribs like kindling. Blood, hot and crimson in the moonlight, fountained into the air, pattering down like rain onto the black water. The stag didn't scream. It just shuddered. Then, the feasting, the thing. The creature, the devil, pulled. Not just entrails, everything. Muscle, sinew, bone. It wasn't eating. It was unraveling it. Like pulling threads from a sweater. Ribs snapped like dry twigs. Vertebrae popped like gunshots in the silent woods. The wet, tearing sounds. God, the sounds. Rending meat, grinding bone. The sucking, slurping noise as organs were vacuumed into that impossible void of a mouth. Blood didn't just flow. It gushed. It coated the creature's pristine suit, turning the charcoal black into a glistening, sticky maroon. It pooled around its feet, soaking into the moss, steaming. And the smell? The copper tang of blood mixed with the choking reek of sulfur, and decay became a physical thing. A miasma that clawed at my lungs. I vomited, violently, the meager rations from hours ago splattering my boots. I raised my rifle, fired, a full burst, center mass. The bullets, they sank into him. Like throwing pebbles into tar. No impact, no flinch. Just tiny, puckered holes that sealed instantly, oozing that same black, smoking ichor. He didn't even look at me. He kept pulling, until the stag was gone, not consumed, disassembled. A red ruin scattered across the clearing. A hoof here, a strip of hide there, a gleaming white piece of skull fragment. The only thing left mostly intact was the head, eyes still white, tongue lolling in the gore. He turned those empty sockets back to me. His smile, impossibly, widened further. Blood and ichor dripped from his chin. Your turn, little hunter, the layered voices hissed. Your fear, it sings, a delectable vintage. He took another glide step. The black ichor from his wounds dripped onto the moss, burning tiny, smoldering holes. The stench was overwhelming. The wet, tearing sounds echoed in my head, mixed with the phantom crunch of bone. I ran. Protocol be damned. Sanity be damned. I just ran. Branches whipped my face. Thorns tore my clothes. I didn't care. I heard that chuckle again, vibrating through the trees, through the ground beneath my feet. Felt those empty sockets burning into my back. I made it back to the extraction point. Somehow. Called in the code black. The chopper came. They found me curled in a ball, babbling, covered in my own vomit and blood, not mine. Stag blood? His ichor? I don't know. They debriefed me, sedated me. Ran tests. They think I snapped. Saw a Wendigo, maybe. Had a psychotic break fueled by isolation and folklore. They're wrong. I know what I saw. That thing, it wasn't just a monster. It was. Aware. Malicious. It enjoyed it. It reveled in the gore, in the terror. It spoke of creation's roots. It absorbed bullets. And the smell, I can still smell it. In my nose, in my hair, in my soul. That cloying stench of sulfur, decay, and hot blood. It's in this room, right now. Can't you smell it? He's not done. He told me. Your fear sings. He liked it. He's coming. Not for the DSA, not for the world. For me. Because I saw. Because I ran. He wants to finish the unraveling. They're putting me on administrative leave. Psychological evaluation. They took my gun. My badge. They think they're protecting me. Protecting them. They don't understand. There's no protection. Not from him. The cryptids? The Wendigos? The Skinwalkers? The things that go bump in the dimensional void? They're just strays. Scavengers picking at the crumbs. I met the source. The darkness at the heart of the labyrinth. The architect. I met the devil, and he knows my name. He's tasted my fear, and he's hungry for the rest. Get out. All of you. Get as far away from me as you can. Lock the doors. Pray to gods you don't believe in. It won't help. He doesn't knock. Something is eating corpses in the cemeteries in Toledo, Ohio. All units respond to Woodlawn Cemetery, Central and Jackman Sector. Code 1054D. Repeat, 1054D. Possible animal attack. On the deceased, multiple sites. Proceed with extreme caution. Unknown biohazard potential. Over. Race on scene. Dispatch, confirm biohazard. Over. Jesus, the smell. Like rancid pork left in battery acid. And something else sweet? Rotting fruit? Over. Found the first one. Plot 37. Fresh burial. Old Man Henderson. Or what's left? Dispatch? It ain't animals. Animals don't do this. The casket lid ripped open from the inside. Torn steel, like tinfoil, and Henderson he's hollowed out. Like a goddamn Halloween pumpkin. Ribcage cracked wide open. Organs gone. Not ripped out. Dissolved. Just wet, pink sludge pooled in the cavity. Bone looks chewed? Gnawed? But the edges, they're melted. Smooth. Like plastic held to a stove. Something's moving. In the sludge. In his chest cavity? Little worms? No. Too thick. Like fingers. Small, blind, white fingers wriggling in the goo. Hundreds of them. Feeding. They're turning the sludge black. Thickening it. Oh God, it's pulsing. Back up. Now. It's not in the grave. It's the grave. They found Reyes an hour later. Half in the grave, half out. His lower half gone. Just shredded uniform and a slick, dark trail leading deeper into the cemetery. His torso looked like he'd been stuffed into a trash compactor filled with razors. But his face frozen, not in terror. In a slack-jawed, vacant ecstasy. Like he saw something beautiful before it tore him apart. In the county coroner. Or I was. Before Toledo started vomiting up its dead. Victim 4. Sarah Jennings. Died of natural causes. Buried yesterday. Exhumed this morning. Her coffin pristine. Sealed. Inside, nothing but a thick, tarry sludge smelling of ozone and spoiled honey. And eggs. Dozens. Leathery, obsidian black, the size of goose eggs, pulsing with a faint internal heat. They were nesting in her empty rib cage. When we tried to extract one, it burst. The fluid, it wasn't inert. It moved. Latched onto Agent Miller's glove. Dissolved the latex in seconds. Burrowed into his skin. He screamed, but it wasn't pain. It was that same damn ecstasy Reyes had. Then his hand it bloomed. Fingers fused, skin blackened and hardened like volcanic rock. Tiny white worms writhed under the surface. We had to amputate. The stump it's still changing. Growing something new. It's not just eating them. It's repurposing. Using the corpses. The graves, like wombs. Incubators. For things that shouldn't exist. We found tracks. Not footprints. Trenches. Dug through soft earth and solid clay alike. Wide, deep furrows, like something massive and segmented dragged itself through, lined with that same terry sludge, and at the end sinkholes, not collapsing earth, dissolving earth, holes leading down deep. We dropped probes. Cameras showed caverns, not natural. Walls smooth, glistening, organic, like the inside of a monstrous intestine. And movement, shapes shifting in the dark, bigger than a man, many-legged, glinting with wet chitinous plates the color of old blood. Last night, historic Calvary Cemetery, above ground. The old mausoleums, marble doors shattered from the inside, not broken, dissolved, like sugar cubes in hot tea. Inside, the coffins ruptured, empty, but the walls covered in thick, translucent webbing, sticky, humming, and hanging in it, cocoons, human-shaped, swollen, taut, skin stretched translucent, glowing faintly from within. You could see shadows moving inside, not human shadows, multi-limbed, twitching, hungry. One twitched. A claw-tipped leg, sharp as a scalpel, punched through the membrane, dripping that same black tar. It retracted. The hole sealed itself, healing, waiting. They're coming out, not just at night anymore. The rain it stirs them, makes them bold. We found Mrs. Gable walking, or shambling, down Cherry Street at 3 p.m., her burial gown soaked, filthy, her skin gray, sagging, but her belly distended, huge, pulsing, stretched so thin you could see the dark shape writhing inside, her eyes milk white. Empty. She opened her mouth, and instead of a scream, out poured a stream of those white, wriggling worms. Thousands of them, hitting the pavement, squirming towards the storm drains, towards the river, towards the water treatment plant. They're here. At the morgue. How? The pipes. They came up through the drains. Oh, God. Jenkins, he was hosing down the slab. The water, it changed, thickened, black. It wrapped around his leg like a serpent, pulled him down. He's gone. Just bubbling sludge in the drain. The freezers, the bodies, they're thrashing, banging against the doors. The cold, it's not stopping them. It's waking them up. Lights out. Backup generators failing. Emergency lights red. It makes the shadows move. Shapes dropping from the ceiling vents. Like giant hairless rats, but with too many jointed legs and mouths vertical slits, ringed with needle teeth, dripping that tar. They move so fast, skittering up walls. One landed on Choi, buried its head in her chest, came out the other side. She just collapsed, empty, a sack. And the noise, that god-awful chittering, it's inside my head. It's not sound, it's communication. Calling the others. Calling the things inside the waiting bodies. Barricaded in storage B, but I can hear it. In the walls. Not rats. Bigger, much bigger. Scratching, digging. The plaster, it's bulging. Damp, smelling of grave dirt and that sweet rot. It knows I'm here. I can feel it tasting the air under the door. That ecstatic look raised, Jennings, Miller, they saw it. The beauty, the purpose. I think I'm starting to see it too. The sludge, it's seeping under the door. Black, shimmering, it's warm, inviting. It doesn't want to kill me. It wants to use me. Make me a vessel. A nest. A mother to something glorious and terrible. To spread Toledo's new offspring. It's beautiful. The mandibles like polished obsidian. The eyes, so many eyes reflecting the red light, showing me eternity in the hive. The gift of becoming womb, soil, forever. All units, fall back. Containment failed. Repeat, containment failed. Unknown biologicals are spreading. Reports of disturbances in residential areas. Basements, crawl spaces. People are saying their loved ones. They're moving inside their coffins. God help us. It's in the water. The water treatment plant is breached. The Maumee River is... I'm a park ranger. The monster I saw horrifies me, and it is turning the forest into a bone orchard. Dispatch. This is Ranger Vance, Sector 7, Elm Creek boundary. I'm not making it back. Copy that? Not making it back. Do not, I repeat, do not send anyone. Not SAR, not National Guard. No one. Perimeter the entire Blackwood Reserve. Code Omega. Yeah, Omega. They told us about the poachers. Busted traps near the old growth. Signs of butchery. Not normal. Too clean. Too much. Left behind, bones, just piles of picked clean bones near the biggest oaks. We thought it was animals. Scavengers. We were so wrong. I followed fresh tracks today. Deep. Heavy. Not bear. Not elk. Something bipedal, but dragging. Went off trail, deep into Sector 7, into the Elm Creek Hollow. Place always felt quiet, too quiet, like the birds avoided it. Found the source of the tracks, and the smell, God, sweet rot. Like honeysuckle left to fester in a grave. The trees, dispatch the trees. The old oaks, there, changed, bark split open. Not from disease, from growth, things pushing out from inside. Rib cages, human, still strung with shreds of red meat and glistening tendon. Skulls fused into the trunks, jaws hanging slack, filled with roots, thick white, pulsing roots growing out of the eye sockets, the nasal cavity, femurs, ulnas, spines, all jutting from the wood like obscene branches, polished white and gleaming. It's a bone orchard. Heard a scream, human, agonized, close, ran towards it. Stupid. Found him, one of the poachers. Jenkins, or what was left. He wasn't dead, not yet. He was fusing to a sapling. A young oak, his legs gone below the knee. Stumps buried in the earth, tangled with thick, ropey roots that pulsed like veins. His arms were outstretched, fingers splayed, bark creeping up his forearms, knitting with his skin. His mouth was open in a silent scream, but roots were growing out of it, forcing his jaw wider, plunging down his throat. His eyes bulging, terrified, watching as thin, white rootlets snaked across his cheeks, burrowing into the corners. The sapling. It was pulling him in, absorbing him, turning him into part of it, part of the orchard. He saw me, his eyes pleading. Then the tree moved. Not the sapling, the big one behind him. The one dripping femurs from its canopy. It unfolded. It wasn't just wood. It was a thing. A skeleton of ancient timber, yes, but animated. Fluid, its trunk split vertically, opening like a rotten maw lined with jagged, root-like teeth made of hardened sap and splintered bone. Inside, darkness, and a pulsing bioluminescent fungus casting a sickly green light. Its limbs weren't branches. They were assemblages. Thick roots braided with spines, finger bones, deer antlers, ending in grasping claws made of sharpened rocks fused by hardened resin. Its head, a knot of fused skulls, bear, human, something else, covered in thick moss, with two deep hollows glowing with that same fungal green light. It stank of decay and wet earth and that cloying sweet rot. It lurched, faster than anything that size should move, silent despite the crushing weight, gliding over the earth like roots were pulling it forward. It went for Jenkins, not to eat him, to accelerate. Those bone rock claws plunged into the ground around Jenkins. The earth heaved. Thick, worm-like roots erupted, wrapping around his torso, his head, pulling him down into the soil, while simultaneously pulling the sapling up into him. I heard his spine snap. Saw his ribs cave inward as the young tree trunk swelled, forcing itself into his chest cavity. The bark consumed him in seconds. The screaming stopped. The sapling, it was taller now, thicker, and from its new, thicker branches, fresh, pale knobs were already forming. Knobs that looked like the beginnings of elbows, kneecaps. It turned, the green lights in its skull knot fixed on me. The wind wasn't wind anymore. It was a voice. 1,000 voices whispering, groaning, sighing through the bone orchard. Voices of the consumed. Join the root, become the forest. Feed the growth. I ran, blind. I could feel the ground moving under me. Roots snaking at my ankles. I tripped, landed hard, looked back. It wasn't chasing me anymore. It was standing still. But the forest itself, was coming alive. Saplings nearby were twisting, their branches becoming bony claws, reaching. Vines thickened into root tendrils, slithering towards me. The bone orchard was spreading, activating, hunting. Something bit, stung, my ankle. A root, thin, barbed. It retracted. Left a puncture. Burning cold spreads up my leg. Numbness. Heavy. Oh God, it's like concrete setting in my veins. I'm crawling. Can't run. The cold, it's in my hip now. My fingers. Tingling, going numb. The whispering, louder. Rest, Ranger, become. Strong wood, your bones, will hold the canopy. I see them, the roots thick as my arm, covered in that glowing green fungus, wrapping around my numb leg, pulling gently, insistently, towards the base of a big maple. It's warm. The earth here, soft, welcoming. The numbness, it's peaceful. No pain, just cold, heavy. My leg, it's sinking, melding with the soil. I feel pressure. Down there, like roots growing into me, up through the sole of my boot, into my foot, my bones, they feel warm. Inside the cold, like sap rising. It doesn't hurt, it's natural. Dispatch, tell my mom, I'm becoming part of it. Part of the root, the bone orchard. It's beautiful, really. The whispering, it's not scary anymore. It's family. Jenkins is here. Others. We grow together. Strong. Permanent. We feed the forest. From within, my bones, they'll be. Strong branches someday. Hold the canopy. So tired? Grow now. I'm a cryptid hunter. I hunt terrifying cryptids in Ohio. Location: abandoned Crosswick Steel Mill Complex, Southwest Ohio. Target designate the Crosswick Horror. Post-industrial decline whispers. Workers vanishing near runoff pipes. Animals found altered. Not eaten. Transformed. Initial samples from Site Gamma are anomalous. Not organic residue in the traditional sense. Highly crystalline structure under polarized light. Refractive index off the charts. Composition: silicon dioxide base fused with trace heavy metals, chromium, arsenic, lead, consistent with mill waste and something else. Unidentifiable organometallic compounds. Bioactive, aggressively so. They were wrong about the river. It's not hiding in the water. It is the water. The poisoned water. The horror isn't some relic. It's the mill's legacy. Evolved. Awake. I went back tonight. Deeper into the runoff tunnels. Past the warning signs faded to ghosts. The air thick with the smell of stagnant water, rust, and ozone. Sharp, metallic, like licking a battery. And cold. A deep, penetrating cold that the thermal cam showed as absolute zero spots moving through the warmer sludge. My boots, the Vibram soles, started feeling brittle after 10 minutes. Like walking on gravel made of ice. Then I saw the light. not my headlamp. A soft, internal glow emanating from the tunnel walls ahead. Bioluminescence? No. Crystallization. The concrete, the rusted pipes, the very sludge underfoot, it was growing crystals. Needle-thin, intricate lattice of pure, translucent quartz, glowing with an internal, sickly violet light. They hummed. A high-pitched, bone-vibrating frequency that made my teeth ache and my vision blur. I stepped on one. A cluster growing from a pipe joint. It shattered, but the sound wasn't glass. It was wet, organic, and the violet light pulsed angrily where it broke. Then I saw them, embedded in the walls, partially encased in the growing crystal lattice, like insects in amber. Rats, possums, a large dog, not dead, not alive. Frozen mid-motion, eyes wide and milky, their fur and skin replaced by intricate glowing crystal structures. Internal organs visible as ghostly shapes of purple quartz. They were integrated, becoming part of the structure. That's when the cold hit me, a wave of it radiating from a side passage. Not air, a presence. I swung my light. It flowed, like mercury, but slower, thicker, a shifting iridescent mass, the color of oil on water, reflecting the violet crystal light in rainbow shards. No defined shape, no eyes, but it knew me. Tendrils, not of flesh, but of pure, liquid crystal, coalesced from its surface. They reached not towards me, but towards the wall near me, where my hand had brushed against the concrete moments before. Where my glove had touched a tiny patch of crystal was already blooming. Violet lattice spreading across the leather, into the leather. I felt it, a deep, penetrating cold biting into my skin beneath. Not numbness, a restructuring. A terrifying clarity spreading up my finger. I could feel every molecule freezing, aligning, changing. I fired. High-intensity UV lamp, theorized disruption field for crystalline growth. The beam hit the flowing mass. It recoiled. Part of its surface shattered, raining glowing violet splinters that hissed where they hit the sludge. But it didn't stop. It flowed around the beam, reforming. A new tendril, thicker, shot out faster than I could track. Not to strike. To touch the wall beside my UV beam. The concrete where it touched exploded inwards with violet light. A forest of razor-sharp crystals erupted, growing faster than bamboo, blocking the UV beam, reaching for me. One grazed my cheek. It wasn't a cut. It was instantaneous transformation. A streak of cold fire raced from the scratch. I touched my face. My skin hard, smooth, cold, like polished stone. I could see the violet lattice under the surface, glowing faintly, spreading. I ran, blind with terror and the violet light fracturing my vision. The cold wasn't just in my face now. It was in my bones. A deep, resonant hum vibrating inside me, matching the frequency of the tunnel. My left hand, the fingers I felt the cold in first, they're stiffening, locking into position. The skin is turning translucent. I can see the bones, but they're changing too, becoming facets, prisms. I'm cornered, back against the dead-end wall, already thick with the glowing lattice. The mass is flowing towards me, silent now, except for that bone-deep hum. It doesn't need to rush. It knows. The tendrils reach out again, not aggressively, almost caressingly, towards the wall beside me, towards the spreading violet stain on my cheek, towards my frozen hand. It doesn't want to kill me. It wants to preserve me, to make me beautiful, to turn my fear, my flesh, my very soul into part of its perfect, frozen, glowing structure, to be a monument in its cathedral of crystalline decay. The cold is inside my chest now. My heartbeat feels slow, thick, like quartz grinding on quartz. The UV lamp battery dead, useless. My gun, what would bullets do? Shatter it? Make it angry? Make it grow faster? It's touching the wall next to me. The crystals bloom like deadly flowers, inches from my face. Their light is hypnotic. The cold is peaceful. Maybe it is beautiful. Cold so clear, see everything. I'm a cryptid hunter. I hunt Wendigos, and I think one's hunting me now. Okay, recording. Deep breaths, Alex. This might be the last log. Batteries at 15%. Signal's been dead for hours. The trees up here, they don't just block the sky. They swallow sound, swallow hope. My thermal's useless. Everything's a cold smear except it. They call me a cryptid hunter. Mostly it's blurry photos and chasing campfire stories. Bigfoot? Mostly shy. Dogman? Aggressive, sure, but flesh and blood. You can put them down, but the Wendigo, that's a different kind of nightmare. Not just a monster. It's a curse. A hunger that burns hotter than hellfire in a body frozen by the void. Most hunters avoid them. Smart. I sought them out. Arrogance. Stupidity. A death wish wrapped in bravado. This one was different from the start. Found it up in the gash, that deep, perpetually shadowed ravine north of the Black Spruce Reserve. Not the usual moose carcasses or vanished hikers. No, it was fungus, thick, pulsating mats of grayish-white rot spreading up the ancient pines, smelling like spoiled milk and wet graves. And the bones, not picked clean, integrated. Deer skulls fused into the bark, rib cages acting like grotesque shelves for more of that vile growth. This wasn't just feeding. This was terraforming. I tracked it deeper than I should have. Past the warnings scratched into trees, past the hanging bundles of herbs and rotten teeth the locals left. The air got colder, thicker, tasting like iron and decay. That's when I saw the first spore cloud, like gray pollen drifting in a shaft of weak moonlight. Felt it catch in my throat. Itchy. Wrong. Then I heard it. Not a howl. A clicking. Like brittle sticks snapping underwater. Slow. Deliberate. Coming from everywhere and nowhere. I ran. Stupid. Panic overrode training. Tripped over a root. Hidden under that fucking fungal carpet. Landed hard. That's when I saw him. Or what was left of him. Ranger Hatchet. He went missing last month. He was growing. Merged with a giant, pulsating fungal mass erupting from a rotten stump. His skin was translucent gray, stretched taut over bones that seemed too long. His mouth was open in a silent scream, but his eyes, they were gone, replaced by clusters of tiny, glowing orange spores. His chest cavity, God, it wasn't empty. It was a hive. Writhing, pale grubs pulsed within, feeding on the luminous fungus blooming from his ribs. The clicking sound intensified. It was coming from him. From the grubs. That's when it stepped out. From behind Hatchet's structure. It wasn't like the old descriptions. No antlers, no emaciated human frame. This was evolution. Twisted. Imagine a corpse pulled apart and reassembled by a madman using only fungus and bone. Its body was a skeletal framework. Elk, bear, human, impossible to tell, bound together by thick, ropey cords of pulsating gray mycelium that pulsed with a sickly inner light. Where skin should have been, there was only more of the fungus, leathery, and weeping a viscous phosphorescent slime that dripped onto the ground, sizzling faintly. Its limbs were elongated, jointed in too many places, ending in hands that weren't hands, fused clusters of sharp, yellowed bones jutting from fungal masses, like grotesque bouquets of knives. The head, Jesus. It wasn't a skull. It was a cage made of interlocking ribs and vertebrae, pulled from multiple sources. Inside that cage, suspended by glowing fungal threads, hung a pair of human lungs, still feebly inflating and deflating, puffing out tiny clouds of those gray spores with every wet, rattling breath. No eyes, just deep, empty sockets filled with swirling spores that glowed with the same malevolent orange as Hatchet's. It saw me. The lung cage rotated with a wet, grinding sound. The spores within flared brighter. I fired. High-caliber rounds designed to pulp bone. They sunk into the fungal flesh with wet, muffled thuds, like hitting rotten meat wrapped in wet towels. Grayish slime and chunks of glowing fungus splattered the trees. It didn't scream. It vibrated. A deep, subsonic thrum that shook my teeth and made the fungus around us pulse in unison. Then it moved. It didn't run. It unfolded. Those too many jointed limbs propelled it with terrifying speed, silent despite its size. It flowed through the trees like smoke made solid. I fired again, emptying the mag. One round punched through the lung cage. A gout of thick, black fluid and a dense cloud of spores erupted. The thing staggered, the glow in its spore eyes flickering. I thought I heard it. I was wrong. I just made it angry. It lunged, not at me. At Hatchet's corpse hive. Those bone cluster hands plunged into the writhing mass of grubs in Hatchet's chest. It pulled out a squirming, pulsating handful and shoved it into the hole I'd made in its own lung cage. The grubs wriggled inside, glowing brighter. The spores flared. He thrumming intensified. It was healing itself with parts of its victim. Then it turned back to me. And it spoke. Not a voice. A sound like wind whistling through a forest of dead trees, layered with the wet gurgle of a drowning man and the frantic clicking of 1,000 insects. It vibrated in my skull, bypassing my ears. So hungry always feed the growth. Joined become home, I ran. Blind. Deaf except for the pounding of my own heart and that awful, multi-layered voice echoing inside my head. Your bones strong, your flesh warm. The fungus craves. I could feel the spores I'd inhaled earlier. Itchy tendrils creeping in my sinuses, down my throat. A coldness spreading in my chest that has nothing to do with the mountain air. I'm hiding now. Under a rotten log, coated in that same cold, wet fungus. It's close. I can hear it. Not footsteps. The soft squelch of fungal flesh on damp earth. The wet click-click-click of its internal mechanisms. The faint, rhythmic puffing of those stolen lungs pushing out more spores. Found you little hunter time to stop hunting time to grow. It's not just hunting me for food. It's looking for material, for parts, to repair itself, to expand. Hatchet wasn't eaten. He was incorporated, turned into a node in its spreading network of rot. That's what it wants for me. To turn my bones into scaffolding, my flesh into fertile ground for its fungal horror. To make me a screaming monument in its garden of death and decay. Oh God, the log. It's tearing it apart, like wet cardboard. I see the bone knife hands. I see the spores swirling in the cage. I see the grubs writhing inside the lungs. No more running. Let the cold in, let the root take hold. We are so hungry. DSA Operative Log. Wolf Killer Classification. Eyes Only Project Moonshadow Agent Rook, Department of Special Acquisitions. Wetworks Division. They don't put that on the recruitment posters. They don't talk about the black bag operations. The sanitizations. My specialty? Lycanthropes, not fairy tale wolves. Not guys who get hairy once a month. These are bioweapons. Twisted, hyper-aggressive, and smart as hell. My job isn't containment. It's extermination. October 31st. Grid Sector, Blackwater Mills, a derelict meatpacking plant. Target, Alpha Prime. Designation, Fenris 7. Intel suggested a new strain. Faster, tougher, ignoring the old rules. Silver allergy? Reduced? Wolfsbane? A mild irritant. This one, it liked killing. Left artistic displays. Rain hammered the corrugated steel roof like gunfire. The air reeked of old blood, ammonia, and something worse. Wet fur and rancid meat. My kit was heavy. Modified Benelli M4, loaded with alternating fletchet and thermite incendiary slugs. Throat mic. NVGs casting the world in sickly green. Heartbeat sensor pinging slow and steady in my ear. Silence otherwise. Too silent. I found the nest. Sublevel 3. Cold storage. It wasn't a nest. It was a larder. Hooks meant for carcasses held pieces, human pieces. Not just torn apart. Arranged. A man's torso hung central, ribs splayed open like bloody wings, organs meticulously removed. His head sat on a rusted conveyor belt, eyes gouged out, tongue replaced with a knot of his own intestines. Nearby, a woman's legs stood upright, boots still on, femur bones protruding from the ragged tops like grisly stakes. Her upper half. Gone. The walls were painted in broad, violent strokes of gore. Finger painted. The smell hit me like a physical blow. Coppery blood. Bile. The thick, cloying stench of opened bowels. And underneath it all, that feral, musky predator reek. Fresh. Close. My sensor chirped. One ping. Directly above me. On the catwalk. I looked up. It wasn't fully shifted. Caught mid-change. A nightmare in transition. 8 feet tall if it stood straight. Its spine was hunched, vertebrae bulging grotesquely under stretched, mottled skin that was sloughing off in wet patches. Raw, glistening muscle and yellow fat showed beneath. Its skull was elongating, jaw unhinged, too many teeth, yellow fangs and jagged molars erupting through bleeding gums. Its eyes, human irises drowning in pools of jaundiced yellow sclera, pupils blown wide with predatory hunger and pure, psychotic rage. One hand was still recognizably human, clutching the catwalk railing, the other, a monstrous clawed paw, knuckles dragging the floor, tendons snapping audibly as they stretched. It drooled. Thick, viscous saliva mixed with blood and tissue strands. It hissed, a sound like steam escaping a corpse. Little gun man. It gurgled, its voice a wet, tearing distortion of something human. Come to play? Protocol vanished. This wasn't hunting. This was facing raw, evolving evil. I fired the Benelli. The fledged round hit its chest. 100 tungsten needles shredded flesh. Chunks of fur, skin, and muscle exploded outwards in a crimson mist. It roared, a sound that shook dust from the ceiling. Pure agony mixed with fury. It staggered back. It didn't fall. The wounds, they bubbled. Thick, blackish blood pulsed out, but beneath it, I saw movement. Sinew knitting, muscle fibers squirming like worms. Bone fragments pushing themselves back into place with sickening pops and crunches. Regeneration, faster than anything on record. It vaulted the railing, not jumped, dropped 15 feet. Landed on all fours with a bone-jarring thud that cracked the concrete floor. It charged. Speed, unholy speed. A blur of wet muscle and snapping jaws. I sidestepped, firing the thermite round. Boom. White-hot magnesium fury engulfed its left shoulder and flank. The stench of burning hair, fat, and flesh became overwhelming. It screamed, a high-pitched, ululating shriek that scraped my nerves raw. It flailed, batting at the clinging fire, slinging gobs of its own molten flesh against the walls where they sizzled. It didn't stop. Blinded by pain and rage, it lunged. I dodged the snapping jaws, but the trailing claw caught my vest. Kevlar shredded like paper. Razor talons scored deep grooves across the ceramic plate underneath and raked my ribs. White-hot agony lanced through me. I felt the scrape of claw on bone. I hit the floor, rolling. My NVGs flew off. Darkness swallowed me, lit only by the dying thermite glow on the monster and the green blink of my dropped heartbeat sensor. Its heavy, wet breaths echoed in the chamber. The drip, drip, drip of its blood mixed with mine on the cold floor. I fumbled for my sidearm. A custom .500 and W Magnum. Last resort. Loaded with solid depleted uranium slugs. Designed to punch through tank armor. And lycanthrope skulls? It found me by scent. Its shadow blotted out the dim light. I saw its outline, the hunched spine, the massive shoulders, the jaws wide enough to decapitate me. Those hellish yellow eyes locked onto mine. Hot, fetid breath washed over me, smelling of raw meat and burning hair. Gun! Man! It rasped, drool spattering my face. No more. Guns! It reared up, a mountain of regenerating muscle and fury, claw raised for the killing blow. I shoved the 500 upwards, barrel aimed roughly where its heart should be, and pulled the trigger. The sound was apocalyptic in the confined space. A muzzle flash blinded me. The recoil nearly broke my wrist. The impact was visceral. The depleted uranium slug hit center mass. It didn't penetrate. It detonated. A fist-sized chunk of its chest cavity simply vanished. Pulped muscle, shattered ribs, and liquefied organs erupted outwards in a geyser of gore. A section of spine, gleaming white and slick, was visible through the massive hole. Black blood and yellow lymphatic fluid gushed like a ruptured pipe. The roar that followed wasn't rage. It was pure, shrieking, animal agony. It stumbled back, clutching the ruin of its chest, slipping in its own spilled viscera. It crashed against the hanging side of beef, bringing it down in a wet thud. It wasn't dead. That regenerative sludge was already bubbling, trying to seal the catastrophic wound. But it was down. I crawled. Agony screamed from my ribs. Blood soaked my side. I found the Benelli, slammed in another thermite shell, staggered to my feet. It looked up at me from the floor, its yellow eyes wide with shock and pain, bubbling blood frothing from its jaws. The intelligence was still there. The hate, the hunger. Silver won't save you. It gurgled, black blood spilling down its mangled chest. The bite, the change, it's evolving. I didn't hesitate. I aimed the Benelli down at its half-regenerated, still smoldering head. Neither will you. The thermite round ignited inside its skull. Light flared blindingly from its eye sockets, nose, and mouth. Its head jerked violently. The smell of burning brain matter and boiling cerebrospinal fluid filled the air. A final choked gasp escaped its throat. Then stillness. The bubbling sludge at its chest slowed, then stopped. The silence returned, broken only by the rain, a crackle of dying thermite, and my own ragged, pain-filled breathing. I looked down at the ruin, at the impossible gore painting the slaughterhouse floor, at the thing that wasn't wolf, wasn't man, but a terrifying evolution of both. Intel was wrong. This wasn't just a new strain. This was something worse, something adapting. And the scratch on my ribs, beneath my shredded vest, it burned. Like acid, like ice, like something is alive inside of me. People that pray in church are praying to the devil confession. This isn't a confession. It's a warning. Burn this. Burn it all. My name is Father Marcus Valen, St. Ignatius Cathedral. For 30 years I served. I thought I served. I was wrong. We all are. The prayers, the hymns, the sacred rites. They don't reach heaven. They feed something else. Something that slumbers beneath the altar stone. Something that wears the face of God like a rotting mask. It started subtly. The incense began smelling less like frankincense, more like burnt copper and spoiled honey. The candle flames didn't flicker gold. They burned a sickly bruised purple at their core. I dismissed it. Fatigue. Age. Then the statues. The Virgin Mary. Her serene smile seemed to stretch. Wider. Too wide. Showing too many teeth carved into cold marble. And her eyes. On certain nights, under the moon through the stained glass, they seemed to track you. The prayers changed, not the words. The sound, when the congregation chanted the Kyrie eleison, Lord have mercy, their voices harmonized into something wrong, a resonance that made the fillings in my teeth ache. That made the shadows in the vaulted ceiling writhe like black serpents. I saw Mrs. Henderson, devout widow, praying fervently, her mouth opened wider than humanly possible, tongue flicking out, black and forked, just for an instant. She blinked. Normal. I thought I imagined it. Then came the midnight mass, the consecration. I raised the host, the sacred wafer. I felt it pulse, warm like living flesh. I looked down. The wine in the chalice. It wasn't red. It was thick and tar-black and shimmering with internal rainbows. Like oil on pavement, it bubbled slowly. As if breathing, I almost dropped it. Old Monsignor Craven beside me just smiled, his eyes completely black, not just the pupils. The whole eye, like obsidian pits. Partake, Marcus, he whispered. Taste the true divinity. I couldn't. I ran. Locked myself in the sacristy, heard noises from the nave, not prayer, feeding, wet tearing sounds, guttural satisfied groans that vibrated the stone floor, and the singing. God, the singing. It wasn't human voices anymore. It was the sound of ripping meat turned into melody. I peeked just once through the keyhole. The congregation was still kneeling, but changed. Mrs. Henderson's jaw was unhinged, distended, rows of needle teeth glistening weightly. She was chewing on something long and pale. An arm, Mr. Peterson, the stoic banker, had split open down the back. From the fissure, glistening black tentacles tipped with lamprey mouths writhed, snatching gobbets of something from the air. Monsignor Craven stood before the altar with arms outstretched, but his robes were gone, his skin peeled away like wet paper, revealing pulsating iridescent flesh covered in weeping lidless eyes. The crucifix behind him, the carved Christ. Its wooden face was smiling, a rictus grin. Its painted eyes followed me. They know I'm here. The door is melting, not burning, turning soft like wet clay, dripping onto the floor. That smell, burnt honey and copper, so thick I can taste it. It's in my lungs, changing me. My skin itches, crawls, feels loose. Craven. No, not Craven. The thing wearing his skin. Taller, thinner, head scraping the stone ceiling. So many eyes, burning with cold violet light. And its mouth, a vertical slit down its torso, lined with rotating serrated teeth like broken glass. It reaches for me, hands too long, too many fingers. Hooked claws dripping black ichor. It smells like an open tomb filled with rotting lily and ozone. Let go, demon, devil, devil, child. We are older, hungrier. We were here before your desert god learned to crawl. Your prayers, your faith, your desperate, delicious hope. It is the ambrosia that sustains us. The altar is our mouth. The hymns our lullaby. The faith is the meat. My arm, it ripped it off. Not ripped, unraveled, like yarn. The bone splintered, turned to dust. The blood, it's not red. It's black, thick, shimmering. It smells sweet like the wine. No, don't lick it. The tongue. It has a tongue in its chest mouth. Long, black, barbed. It's drinking me. Sucking the marrow. The soul. Feels cold, so cold. Empty. The pain fading. Replaced by a terrible clarity. I see it now. The veins in the stone floor, pulsing purple, feeding the thing below. The stained glass saints. Their eyes are moving, weeping black tears. The hymns. I understand the words now. Not Latin, something older, wetter, words that cut. Praising them all, the great deceiver. Not Satan, something hungrier, that wears faith as its skin. It's beautiful. In its truth, the hunger. The endless glorious hunger. To be consumed, to be part of the feast. To know you never prayed to God. You are whispering down the gullet of the thing that gnaws on the roots of paradise. Forgive me, Father, for I have fed you. Let us pray. Our Father who art in hell, hallowed be thy hunger. Thy kingdom gnawed, thy will be gorged, on earth as it is in the abyss. Amen. Go in peace, beloved children. Feed the faith. Oh, and someone, clean the sacristy. Poor Father Marcus. Seems he had an accident. A devout accident. His name was Father Marcus, and he was delicious.